Today, I'm reviewing a Fox Sports 2026 NFL mock draft. Let's jump right into this. If you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys have been supporting me so much. I was on a 2-week trip over in Europe, so you guys have shown me a lot of love. I dropped a tackle video that showed a lot of them. I think it was a top 20 or 21 on the show, but at the same time, I also dropped, I believe it was over 30 tackles, might be like 37, 38 over on the Patreon, and that has extended versions of the majority of my positional rankings. So if you guys want to see extended versions rather than just the top group, go check it out. If you pay $5 for it's $5 a month, but if you guys just do that, you get access to all the videos and you get access to my board and my rankings, which are below my face, but you also get to have the numerical versions. So stay tuned for that. Actually, it's already up. Also, you get to see the tackle rankings below my face anyway. Let's get into this, though. I do appreciate, again, all the love you guys have had. Starting out number one, got Cleveland Browns going Arch Manning. And yes, this is from right after the draft, but honestly, nothing's changed, if I'm going to be honest, apart from like maybe, I mean, not even maybe. I do know that Jordan Reed updates guys, but apart from probably like Jordan Reed, and then you got Mike Renner in there in the NFL Stock Exchange. Nobody's really updating their stuff, so I can guarantee you this guy's opinion has not changed. I looked at who it was. Wasn't anybody that, we know. But Arch Manning, I assume he's going to be coming back. If he does come out, I do think that he will be the hot commodity. Sometimes you do have to scout the name as well as the player himself because background matters. I mean, there's a lot more to it than, especially at the quarterback position, than just how you play. And Arch Manning plays damn well. He's a good quarterback, man. He just is extremely raw. I don't think he comes out. I do think LaNorris Sellers should be the number one pick, but we'll see. Number two, we got the Jets going Cade Klubnik. Again, I just made my opinion clear on what quarterback I think is the best in the class. However, Cade Klubnik is the safest and high floor quarterback. I do think that he's a little underwhelming to me, but at the same time, I completely understand. This is the Carson Beck of it all, which I'm not saying Cade and Carson Beck are the same thing, but it is a very similar idea where Carson Beck was the safer option coming into last year's class. Now, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a quarterback guru. It is something that I definitely have tried to continue to learn from my mistakes and my successes for that matter. But I would say that, I feel pretty comfortable when I understand that a quarterback is just too overhyped. And Cade feels a little bit like that. He's a good quarterback, but I just don't think he is like number one or two pick material. Granted, every year he's improved. And if you improve every year, then you get much closer to being worth what people are projecting right now. And I'm not the biggest guy on projection. I got to be honest. I like to get my hopes up, but I also am not the hugest fan of, throwing darts based on projection because ultimately you're pulling that projection out of your ass and it's not necessarily based on anything except for pure speculation. But the Jets getting a solid mobile quarterback that's going to be more of a game manager would make sense. He would fit very well into what they'd be building for Justin Fields. And I do think that Cade Klubnik could actually elevate the roster more than Justin Fields does. Granted, I'm praying that Justin ends up really showing out this year. The problem is just really hasn't shown that he is irreplaceable, which if you're at number two, your ass is getting replaced. At number three, we have the New Orleans Saints going Caleb Downs, defensive back at Ohio State. Highly doubt they pass on a QB if they're sitting there at number three. But if they do, Caleb Downs is the best. He is the Travis Hunter of this class, like just hands down the best player in the country, in my opinion. Outside LaNorris Sellers, but LaNorris has his big issues. I have LaNorris higher. It's also based on positional value, but LaNorris is just a super freak. Caleb Downs is just unbelievably solid. There's not many players that I think are can't miss. I genuinely believe Caleb Downs could be can't miss, and I'm just knocking on wood. I'm knocking on it lightly so you guys don't get your ears rattled. But Caleb Downs feels like, a player that you should have on your team for the next 15 years, which if you're at number three, that is kind of the hope. Just, at least this feels like a more probable solution for that. At number four, we have the Titans going TJ Parker, defensive end out of Clemson. I do think the Titans need to continue developing their edge core. I'm not the biggest TJ Parker guy. Now, I could totally see it, but his awareness is just dirt poor. Technique, there. And if you have technique and you have size and you have pretty solid athleticism, which TJ Parker does, it's understandable to think that the intangibles, like the processing of the game, will get better as you progress. And so I do think he will end up continuing to rise in my rankings. But there are players like Malachi Lawrence that I absolutely adore. Please go and check him out, especially versus teams like Arizona. I love watching Arizona's offensive line. They do really well for how little recognition they get. Malachi Lawrence ate them up for lunch, and even though he statistically dropped, I still think he has unbelievable technique, rare power for his size. I do think he's not as good because I didn't rank him as high either. But he has some Dallas Turner to him, and I really love Dallas Turner. But regardless, for the Titans specifically, I don't know if I'd go Malachi Lawrence. I would look at Ruben Bain here, which was, I mean, he has been consistently my pick for the Titans since even my way too earlys. At number 5, we have the Panthers going Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker out of Texas. A bit early, but I do think the Carolina Panthers could absolutely upgrade their linebacking core. I personally don't see linebacker being this valuable, but if you can end up getting a top 3, 4 linebacker in the NFL, because there kind of is a massive drop off after the top group, it could end up being worth it because it's just so rare to find that level of linebacker. Now, I haven't studied the linebackers yet. I was again away over in Europe. I was trying to do some work there, but at the same time, it's like when you're on vacation, just do it right. And then I came back, my mind is completely set on football and work, and I feel really excited to do this. And that was the refresher that I needed. For those of y'all who are doing content, I know a couple of my brothers out there, they do say they get a little burnt out. Highly recommend it because y'all make more money than I do. I highly recommend just taking a couple weeks off and going and exploring some beautiful places. By the way, just shout out to Europe, man. In my opinion, can outclass the U.S. in certain small areas or small stints as well. Like, shout out to them. But regardless, Anthony Hill, I've not gone to the linebacker class yet. I've watched a lot of Texas's defense. He does flash. If you can get someone who's a top 5 linebacker in the NFL at number 5, that's the only way you could justify that pick. Too high of a risk for me. It's very tough to transition. I would not do it. And number 6, you got the Giants going Francis Mauigoa, CC, right tackle from Miami. I am not a huge fan of Francis, just FYI. Again, you can check out the video. I do think he's a guard. I think he's a good player. I'm not saying it's like, oh, I don't like him. You'll see where he is in my tackle ranking. He is still a top 10 tackle for me. I do think he is a noticeably better guard. I think his issues are mitigated at guard. But I do think that, especially with that being the main issue, the Giants need to hit someone who's going to be more consistent. I would go in a heartbeat for Spencer Fano, who's my number 5 player in the class. Technically number 4. He's tied with Malachi Lawrence, which I might try to bump him above. But at number 7, we got the Browns from the Jaguars going Tyreek Sapp, edge rusher out of Florida. If you add a 2 in front of the 7, that describes close to where I have Tyreek Sapp in my edge rankings. Hate to say it. Watch the game. I believe it was versus Texas. It was just not good. I also watched the game versus LSU where he had his statistically best game. And I just hate to say it. I think this guy is a merchant of poor offensive line play. He's a physical freak, no doubt about it. You look at this guy, he is built to the 9. I mean, he is built incredibly well, but I just do not see him as a great football player. And I hope that he ends up proving me wrong because I came into this really wanting to love Tyreek Sapp, but I was just genuinely disappointed. I do not think this would be a right move at all for the Cleveland Browns. At number 8, we have the Indianapolis Colts going Caden Proctor, left tackle out of Alabama. Does not make sense because Bernard Ryman just ended up being extended. But of course, at this time, that was not necessarily the case. I will say, though, the idea of going after an offensive tackle for the Colts at right tackle does make sense. Of course, how much do I trust the mock drafter to know what Caden Proctor's position is? That's another thing. But if you wanted to go right tackle here, again, Spencer Fano, I do think should be on the cards. However, if you're at number 8, quarterback's the way to go. Now, do you want to go after another freak at above 240 pounds with LaNorris Sellers, or do you want to go after something a little bit different with somebody of the likes of Drew Aller? That's the question to be asked. At number 9, we have the Vegas Raiders going Nick Harbor, wide receiver out of South Carolina. That'd be a ridiculous receiving core. I mean, you think about it, Brock Bowers. I guess I do like this idea, though. I will say, I did kind of take a shot at whoever wrote this, even though I don't know them personally. I don't know them professionally. I'm not making actual claims. I'm just saying based on, fact that you're trying to mock a left tackle to a team that needs a right tackle, I do have my concerns. But Nick Harbor being a DK Metcalf type does make some sense. I mean, it does have a legitimate role that you have seen with Pete Carroll that he values a lot. So I would say Nick Harbor could absolutely find a role here with Pete Carroll and with an accurate quarterback who's very precise like Geno Smith. And Nick Harbor's not honestly that bad as a route runner. So I think there's a lot more to unlock with him. This could end up working out. I do think the Raiders should focus a little bit more on defense, but I will also say that the Raiders could, there are 7 rounds, right? If you think this guy's going to elevate your offense to a whole new level, then just focus with the rest of your picks on defense. So, at number 10, we have the New England Patriots going Harold Perkins, linebacker at LSU. Same argument that I talked about earlier with Anthony Hill. Just if you're going after a linebacker, which yes, Harold Perkins is not solely a linebacker. You cannot talk about Jalen Walker here because 6'1", 245 versus 6'1", 220 is a massive difference. I do think Harold Perkins should have added weight. I don't like the fact that he stayed at 220. If he ended up getting up to 235, I would just try to take him as an edge rusher because I think that's where he really shines. But he has some good coverage reps in there. But regardless, Harold Perkins, unless he's a top 5 linebacker, does not make sense at number 10. Especially for the Patriots, just they have too many areas where I think they can get micro upgrades or for massive differential. And this is an area at number 10 where you can get a big upgrade, which could make a huge difference. At number 11, we got the Rams going Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. I'm not a huge fan of this pick myself, even though I do know the Rams are not necessarily the youngest receiving core. I mean, you have Puka there, but I mean, you're talking about Devontae Adams, right? You're trying to get that replacement for the long haul. So it's just, I would say, apparently the Rams reportedly tried to move up for Tet McMillan. I don't remember seeing that. Please feel free to confirm or deny that. I mean, I highly doubt that's what they tried to do, even though I did say Denzel Boston is like a poor man's version of Tetro McMillan. That's just not worth it at number 11. If you're really gunning for a wide receiver, Jordan Tyson's the way to go. Number 12, we got the Cardinals going running back Nick Singleton out of Penn State. Again, it's just running backs. You can pay one $12 million a year, like that just happened with James Cook, and you can end up saying, I have a top 5 to 10 running back in the NFL. I just don't really see the value in running back being like this unless you're talking about someone truly special. I love Jaheim White. I'm still figuring out how much I need to value height into the equation because he is very small. But I mean, unless you're talking about like Jeremiah Love, who I do adore. I think he's a great running back. There's just no reason to take a running back in the first. And Nicholas Singleton, he is someone who apparently has 4.35 40 speed. I don't necessarily give a shit what your 40-yard dash is if you can play fast or not. I know Nick has some good speed to him. He's a great athlete, but I don't see 4.35 consistently. Granted, he has a good workload, but I mean, he's a good back. I just don't think he's worth a number 12 pick, especially to the Cardinals. Running backs is not what's holding them back. Especially if they're at number 12, I think we need to dive a bit deeper into why they would be there because they should be noticeably better than at number 12. At that point, I would really start questioning whether Kyler Murray is someone worth continuing to work with if you have LaNorris Sellers sitting there for you. At 13, we have the Dolphins going Dennis Sutton, edge rusher out of Penn State. A little bit of a different style of edge rusher than what they went for before from Penn State with Chop Robinson. Edge rusher is one of those positions I think Miami actually has it down better than what people want to give them credit for. Chop Robinson has turned out to be even better than I expected, which is amazing. I love seeing that. I would say that I would try to focus on corner right now or wide receiver. I mean, wide receiver is dangerously thin in my opinion. Like you have a lot of guys who could be contributors, but when we're talking about impact starters, like Tyreek Hill, once he's gone, it's just like there's too much volatility for me to feel comfortable. I would go after Jordan Tyson here or after a corner, but it's not that good of a corner class. I mean, I have Mansour Delane, who I'm a huge fan of at 18th overall, and that's as good as you're getting. Oh, I didn't even realize this, guys. I'm sorry about that. I need to shrink this down so you guys get to see more. Voila. There you go. I was like, damn, I've been shorting you guys for a second. Apologies about that. But regardless, not the move I would go with. Number 14, the Cowboys go Peter Woods, defensive interior out of Clemson. They need to continue upgrading on the defensive line. So Peter Woods is well worth it. He's my number 8 player in the class. Love him to death. Not going to complain. Number 15, the Seahawks go Jordan Tyson, wide receiver at Arizona State. I mean, again, it's just There's so many big issues. I really love the value though, so I can't complain. If they go with this, they just need to address offensive line down the line, or if they can end up re-signing Abe Lucas and he shows, like, let's just say the doctors take a look and it's like he actually looks really healthy. That's where I'd feel comfortable with something like that. 16, you got the Bears going Jeremiah Love. Seems like the shoe-in pick. I mean, the Bears are definitely one of those teams that lacks the top end running back talent. So Jeremiah Love could absolutely be that. I think that with some continual progression where he's at number 23 on my board right now, even with a slight bump, and I mean 1 point bump to his break tackle rating, or his, like, ability to miss tackles, he ends up shooting up into number 13. That's adjusted for positional value. So, I mean, just very easy for him to take a massive jump. At number 17, we got the Broncos going Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of The Ohio State University. We're talking about how Emeka Egbuka is kind of our dream for the Broncos. Carnell Tate is just kind of a worse version of that. I hope he continues to improve, but it was pretty clear to me that Carnell Tate did not have the talent that Emeka did. At 18, we had the Steelers going Rocco Becht. I think it's how you say it. Quarterback out of Iowa State. I really like the kid. I mean, it would break my heart to see LaNorris go after Rocco, but Rocco's a really fun QB. Just like a weird build. He's not going to go probably until the 7th round. So, definitely not something in the first, but it's cool to see a little bit of a tense shift. He's a good quarterback. 19, we have the Buccaneers going Keldrick Falk, defensive lineman out of Auburn. I love the idea. It sucks that David Walker is going to be out for the year. I think Keldrick Falk would have a little bit of competition there with him. So I would probably try to go after someone a little bit lighter. This is where I debate going Malachi Lawrence myself, but you can end up even talking about some other edge rushers. Let's find the next one that's kind of smaller. Max Llewellyn, Samuel Okunlola, or David Bailey, I think would be better options for the Buccaneers. 20, we have the Texans going Spencer Fano. You guys see where he's at on my board. Love Spencer Fano. He's actually number 4. He's tied with Malachi Lawrence. I do think I want to bump him up. But, definitely think you can continue upgrading your offensive line, especially if the value is right. At 21, you got the Vikings going Sonny Styles. A lot of love for Sonny. Again, one of the positions I have not studied. It's linebacker and safety that I have no experience, or at least no guys graded in. At 22, we have the Chargers going A.J. Harris, cornerback out of Penn State. I don't think corner is the number one issue for the Chargers personally. Now, they can easily upgrade there, but for first round, I'm like, personally, I do think they need to start investing for the long haul. You could talk about edge rusher. I mean, defensive interior, I know that they've looked at that route, but I mean, I do definitely think that, long term, we need to get someone to be a true edge one. Again, I'm a huge Malachi Lawrence stan, but you're talking about, if you don't like that, LT Overton as another guy who I'd really love in the mix because they have some Bama Crimson Tide members on their squad. 23 of the Packers going Cage Casey, left tackle out of Boise State. Definitely, I know Zach Tom ended up getting his payday. Dude's a fucking beast. I do think Rasheed Walker could end up being paid as well. We'll see what happens there. But Cage Casey's a guard to me. I mean, you look at the issues, and I ended up explaining it in my extended version, which is over on my Patreon, which the links are all below or in the link tree. So feel free to go check those out. I really do appreciate it. It does make this a lot easier in the off season when you get to have that little extra bump in terms of revenue. It does make it a lot more incentivizing as well when you're making $100 a month. It is nice. I do appreciate you guys. I'm not saying like this is not for the money. Obviously, I would never do this if it was just for the money, but it's like, it does make it a little bit easier. Makes the pill a little easier to swallow. But Cage Casey, someone who I do believe has some big issues that translates better to guard. Do not like him in the first. 24, we have the Bengals going Chase Bizontis, guard out of Texas A&M. One of the guards I have not studied yet, but excited to be able to check him out. I do believe, is he the right guard? Bengals, regardless, need to, no pun intended, continue to invest in the offensive line. So assuming he's a good player, which, based on the other people I've talked to, they don't have him in this range. But, if he does end up playing to this level, I fully support an interior offensive lineman move for the Bengals. 25, we have the Rams going Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback out of LSU, pairing him up with Denzel Boston from earlier. At this point, this is where you take your shot. 200 pounds scares the shit out of me. But, I will say I would trust Sean McVay at this point. Like, I have my little things versus Nuss, but personally, I can't get mad at him if he goes to Sean McVay. 26, we have the Commanders going Kenyon Sadiq. I love Kenyon Sadiq. Number 1 tight end at number 13 overall on my board. So, If they end up continuing to develop that tight end core, which I think the Commanders need to do, this would be an absolute home run pick. 27, we have the Niners going Bud Clark, defensive back out of TCU. A very, very solid player. I've seen him in person. I mean, I don't think he's first round quality, but definitely somebody I like to see get some credit there, even though I'm not a huge fan of TCU because I'm an SMU alum, but the Niners continue to develop their secondary is super duper key. At 28, we have the Lions going Jaden Greathouse, wide receiver at Notre Dame. Did not expect to see him on here. Jaden Greathouse is somebody who is, I believe, on my top 32 at number 28. Really, really good hands statistically. We'll see if that ends up remaining a big factor for him. Because if he ends up starting to drop more passes, he will tank because his grade is very heavily dependent on how reliable percentage-wise his catching has been. But, I think he's a little too close to Amon-Ra. I don't think he provides the difference there. I would love Noah Thomas, though, at Texas A&M. Would love that. But, I don't think Jaden Greathouse compliments him that well. At number 29, we have the Ravens going Jair Hill, cornerback out of Michigan. Was not a fan. Not a fan. You can go and check out my opinion. I think this one is the full version was on YouTube before. I ended up setting up the Patreon for the extended versions. But Jair was not impressive to me. I really wanted to like him more. I don't think he's a good athlete. Number 30, we have the Bills going Parker Brailsford, center out of Alabama. I do think Parker is a really solid player. I just don't think center has the value. And then with his size, especially, too many red flags. Too many red flags to be a first-round pick. At number 31, we have the Chiefs going Suntarine Perkins, linebacker out of Ole Miss. I think he was my edge 32. I like that they put linebacker in there because I think he's a true linebacker. But even then, I just didn't think he was all that good. So hoping I'm wrong, but especially someone who's 210 pounds. Again, we got to get a little bit more realism here that, he's definitely not a first round quality player in the eyes of the NFL. It's like physics, the size alone, let's just say he's a great player. The size alone would disqualify him. At number 32, and ending this off, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going J.C. Davis, tackle out of Illinois. Multiple reasons why this doesn't make sense. First off, J.C. Davis is not a first-round player. Again, you can actually check that out on the YouTube channel. I won't even force you to the Patreon. It's actually on the YouTube channel, so check it out. It's literally the video before this, so you guys get to see all my opinions on the tackles. But on top of that, let's just say, this is the great steal. We're talking about Caleb Lamu is sitting here. Caleb Lamu talent level is sitting here because he is someone who is sitting here right now based on how this draft ended up going. It's like, first off, the Eagles have invested insanely large amounts of capital. When you're talking about day 3 picks, it's like, oh, those are usually throwaway picks. No, they aren't. That's how you build up good rosters. You develop talent by doing that. Miles Hinton, this is like their last pick. Miles Hinton did look a little bit out of his depth there in the preseason game. I'm hoping he gets better, and I think he will. But the biggest thing that is the biggest issue, screw all the players there. J.C. Davis is a left tackle. Do you really think he's going to be? I like him better at right tackle than left. Why? I don't get it. Why? There's just so many good tackles, and it's just but all that together, obviously, I don't support this. Personally, if I'm going to select something, maybe I would look at Mansour Delane to be a boundary corner, right? I would definitely like Mac McWilliams to step up to that level, and I think he can, but I will not be the one to say, you have to put Mac McWilliams on the boundary. I would say that maybe Mansour would be a little bit more suited for that, to be there with Quinion Mitchell or Avion Terrell if you still want someone who's small, but maybe a little bit more feisty and works with Quinion Mitchell better. But I would just say that's probably the way I would look. If the Eagles the edge core doesn't develop that much, you still have LT Overton. Obviously, Ruben Bain didn't even get taken this, so I haven't talked about that. But, Malachi Lawrence as well might be a little bit up their alley. A lot of other options I go with, but that's going to be the video for today. Thank you again for showing the love and supporting as you always will and always have. And love you guys. See you later. Peace.